taker, please.
What's your name?
Mary Beth.
Mary Beth?
We're already taking notes anyway.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
We need a greeter.
Alana.
Greeter.
Alana. We need a timekeeper.
Mary Beth.
Are you going to tell her that they need to be typed up and emailed?
Okay.
Ultra press.
Oh, she's pressed?
Yeah.
Ah.
Mary Beth is with the press, so she may not be an appropriate note taker.
Agreed.
She may not be taking all of the notes.
Impartial.
She takes the notes. So.
Okay. Do we have another non-reporter note taker? Wow.
I'll do it.
Right on. Thank you. What's your name? Eric? All right, Eric, do you have something to write with?
Yeah. I'll get it out.
Okay. So, does anybody know? If we have a visioning question for tonight?
If we have a visioning question for tonight.
Sorry. I'm open to having a visioning question.
I'm open to having a visioning question.
If people want.
If people want.
Can I get a temperature check on visioning for tonight?
Can I get a temperature check on visioning for tonight?
Twinkle up for yes, in the middle for don't care, or down for no.
Sorry, there's a gang. Don't take
It's like, yeah, but I could take it or leave it.
Okay.
I
Let
figured
me go through the process. So, our process here is we have this agenda. We're no longer doing people's mic. Is that because everyone can hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you.
All right, so we'll switch gears. I'm very projecty. For those who are not, we might do a mic check, in which case that will mean we switch to people's mic. It doesn't mean speak louder, because most of the people who are quiet don't have a louder, sometimes, version. Becca is filming for Ustream. Thank you, Becca. If you do not wish to be on Ustream, stay out of her field of vision. If she turns the camera to you as you're talking, just shake your head and she'll turn the camera away.
Or off.
Or off.
If you want it off, just say you want it off.
Okay, sounds good. So our general process is we have an agenda full of things, and we can add more to the agenda. And we have a certain process where we do something called temperature checks, where we want to see how people are feeling. They are not related to temperature, but we've had temperature checks related to the temperature. So, wiggling your fingers up, we call this twinkling, and that means that you are in agreement or you like what's going on. In the middle means that you're neutral, and down means you don't like what's going on. We also have votes where we have proposals, and we do thumbs up or twinkles up where we are in agreement and support. Across means that you are standing aside or that you are neutral on it, but you will not block it. And down means you oppose it. We sometimes use this interchangeably with this, which is a block. We've had a lot of debate. We try to discourage blocks. We'd like to see more like this or this to encourage productive movement instead of grinding us to a halt kind of movement. Occasionally buses will come by that will interrupt our ability to hear. We will sometimes ask you to hang on a second as you speak. That is not us being rude. It's us saying we can't hear you. So in the past, when I've facilitated, I've asked anybody who's brand new to GA point of process. Or to, the other thing. We have a thing called the point of process. If we're getting off target, if we're not following our own process, then we can do this, and that interrupts whoever's talking, and that person will say their thing. We also have a finger, which is a point of information, that if you have something that's very pertinent and in direct response to what's going on or would help clarify a confusing conversation, you can do this, and that will help things move along we hope. In the past, I've had folks who are new sort of raise their hands and just say they're new and maybe what your name is and what brings you here. We don't have to do that if folks don't want. But if you have And which publication are you with? For a class. For a class. So not actually a member of the press, a member of a class. So you probably could have taken notes. Okay. Anyone else who's new would like to introduce themselves? Yes.
Hello, I'm Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
I'm here primarily because of Abbey Court. I've been following what Occupy does, but I'm one of those who really is looking to Occupy to get into the communities, and Abbey Court is a great community issue. I used to live there. It's a, can I say shithole?
No!
No!
We don't
know. But I'd like to get something more done. I work at Weaver Street Market Cooperative. I'm better now than I used to be. I used to be a lawyer and a corporate marketing executive. Then I gave it up. My father doesn't like me anymore, but I do. Thank you.
Welcome. If you're interested in law, we could probably use some more folks on our legal team. We have one active person on our legal team. I'd love to connect you to her.
Okay.
Some help.
Happy to.
Thank you. Then you could use the law for good. Anyone else would like to introduce yourselves? It's totally optional.
Hi. I've never come to a General Assembly meeting, but I support the Occupy movement, but I found that I have allowed myself to get caught up in my own, I'm a teacher, I teach at UNC, in my own life, and I haven't engaged in my own local Occupy, phenomenon. So, yeah, occupation, exactly. My own local occupation.
Welcome. We have other people here who are professors as well.
Do you? I know some of you.
So I had... Oh, yes.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name's David.
Hi, David. Hello, David.
Thank you. I'm here because I work with the Human Rights Center in Abbey Court. And so for the last, I don't know, since September 17th, I've been feeling angry with myself that I haven't been here more. So I'm here. But it took seeing the solidarity that you all showed at the march, I felt like I should start participating because that was a great help for us people that are in the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else would like to introduce themselves? So I had a visioning idea like a week or two ago, and I don't know if we want to do it. I'm open to other ideas, but I wanted to have people to get together in small groups and just name one thing that you plan to do related to Occupy in the next week. And it could be an action, participate in an action. It could be talk to somebody about Occupy. It could be go online and read things. So can I get maybe a sort of, I don't know, temperature check on if people are okay with that question? Yeah? Awesome.
Could I amend it?
Yes.
I'm a little bit concerned about a lot of our discussion being held online about what we want to do or issues that might come up with that. So maybe we could just also make this a place where if people have been following that, they could share it with people in the group, or because a lot of these same issues have come up. So.
Can I make another amendment?
Yes.
Yeah.
As a matter of information, I was engaging with Rebecca very nicely on something, and I stopped her because I said, what you're about to just ask me to answer could actually be illegal. It's conspiracy. No one's gotten asked to yet, but if they ever do, a lot of what you talk about online could be conspiracy. Keep it friendly.
You're talking about online conversation,
Online
not just
conversation.
now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Abroad. No, I mean they've been using that Patriot Act.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did I say? I don't even remember.
Agenda item?
Yeah.
Jeff, is it okay? I'm going to make that an agenda item. I think it's very important, and we'll kind of have a brief informational thing from you.
Can I make another amendment to your proposal? Instead of breaking off into groups, can we just go one by one around and each person just say what they would do instead of taking time to break off into groups? That way everybody could just hear.
I'm okay with that. I think the group's a little bit big, but...
I mean, it's a short question, don't you think?
Well, one thing that you plan to do. So
one thing you plan to do?
The stuff that I'd had was actually to have people break up into buddies and talk with a person that we can crystallize, and then maybe the duo or the dyad maybe report.
Yeah.
It's as a compromise or a trio. So small groups rather than big groups. If I saw concern, it would take too long.
Don't worry about me. But it would take the 10 minutes plus the report back time for each to go around one at a time.
That's what I'm saying. Like each person just say it.
Or is this what you're supposed to be doing yourself?
What you would like to do yourself.
Then why talk about it with another person when we can tell everybody at the same time?
I think that's a great point, but I think one of the reasons I'm sort of iffy about it is because visioning is sort of allowing some discussion so that you would say what you're going to do and then someone says, oh, how does, you know what I mean? Like it would be a discussion and a visioning thing, but let's just change that for today, but that's the only reason I was a little iffy about it.
Fair enough. So I don't know if people want to think for a moment, like, you know, or if people already have something that they want to do, and if it ends up taking too long, I'd still like to give it just 10 minutes or so. And then, so it's either, I'm sorry, I'm not doing a very good job here. Your thing would be a discussion, the online conversation.
We have two different notes. Let's just do it back. That's future.
All right, so maybe another visioning will be continuation of online stuff. So if we want to take, does anybody want to go first? But I think probably going in a counterclockwise or clockwise fashion would be...
Go left.
I had a point of information. Nick had brought up the how do we communicate as an occupation as a visioning question last week. So I think that definitely has to be talked about. We shouldn't table it for too long.
Maybe for Thursday. As a point of process, I think that the visioning thing should get set by the facilitation committee prior to the meeting, which is what we've done in the past. So maybe we'll make sure that that's highlighted in the GA. Notes.
Okay, sorry about that, yeah.
I vote for whoever wants to speak, just go for it.
Okay, so start, anybody who wants, Becca.
Okay, I had a meeting with finance, and I've decided that to raise money, I'm going to make lots of cookies, wrap them up, and sell them each on Fridays and Saturdays when all the drunk people walk by.
Alright, going in this general.
All right, so I contacted a friend yesterday and I'm talking with a friend this week who has a building in the Harbor area. Maybe a good possible candidate for the
Hey, Joy, we're having trouble hearing you. I apologize. Is it okay if we do people's microphones? Or can you just speak a lot louder?
Stand up, yep, no problem. I started speaking with a friend who lives here locally in Carborough yesterday, who has a building in Carborough who might be a possible good candidate for the Abbey Court people. So he's going to be in touch with them. Hoping to get him here also for the Occupy. So.
All right. Anyone else have any ideas?
What's his name? She didn't say.
She didn't say. Heather? Ash emailed me with an idea about a zombie wall. So for next Friday, we're going to be putting together a zombie wall.
Sorry, but it's not focusing. Let's see. There we go.
Type of stuff. You're interested. Next Friday. Next Friday.
The 16th.
Yeah.
Are you talking about trying to figure out strategy sessions? So I'm committed to organizing or figuring out with logistics and facilitation and events some strategy sessions about sort of like how we do overall strategy.
Right on. Anyone else? Things you think you're going to be doing? Twyla?
I've discovered that I have at least as much dexterity to manage podcasts. So instead of collecting $25 billion for $10, I'm going to make belts, bracelets, jewelry, handbags, that sort of thing out of them. If you bring them to me, then I will put them together and fundraise for Occupy with them. Thank you.
Well, way back there, Alana.
I will be displaying some of my art at the Occupy Art Walk event on Friday in Carborough. You should all come out. I will also continue to send out the invitations to the list of alternative speakers that the group of students has come up with for the alternative commencement ceremony. And on Friday, we will be on campus getting signatures for the petition. Yeah.
What was the first thing you said?
Art walk.
Art walk.
Participating in.
Occupy Chapel Hill T-shirt. So first people should be the ones who've been staying here and really involved, and then there were 50 of them, so we can circulate, just keep giving away, increase understanding of what's going on, start conversations. If you find that people are interested, we could easily get more made and maybe make it into a fundraiser or something we talked about. Second, I want to do a little action on Saturday morning at the holiday parade. It's going to be called Occupy, P-I-E. And the idea is to be giving away pies, but to have one pie that shows what it means to have 40% owned by 1%, and have something that says this is how it is, and have a pie that's equally sort of cut up and say this is how we want it to be, and just be giving it away to people. So if anyone wanted to help buy pies, I've got 7, but I'm hoping we'll need more. Or if you want to be there, maybe in Santa's helper outfit or something silly, to hand them out and hand out literature, let me know. You're going to be here? Does anyone know where the parade route is? It starts here.
Yeah, it starts here.
They assemble down in front of the planetarium.
Then it'll be here. And it starts at 10, eh?
Yeah, they
So this will be sort of organizing around 9.
Anyone else have one thing that you want to be working on the next week?
Or just doing?
Or doing?
Well, apart from coming to the General Assemblies, would you have every day at 6?
No.
What?
No? When do you have?
Tuesday, Thursday.
Thursday.
And Sunday.
At 3:30.
All right, we'll be back here on Thursday, but I'm speaking with the day laborers every day on Davie and Jones Ferry, so I know many people at Abbey Court, and so I will explain to them some of what's going on and try and get some people to come here to represent that community.
What's your name?
David.
Anyone else have one thing or more? Anja?
I'm speaking with somebody who's really knowledgeable about financial reform to get him to come and do a teach-in.
Great. Anyone else have one thing? So we've been going for about 6 or 7 minutes. We have a few more minutes for a couple of ideas, brilliant or silly or in between.
I've never actually been to the website, so I will go to the website. I'm much more likely to show up here than go to the website and try to join a committee.
Thank you. Erica, right?
Yes.
Excellent. I don't want to pressure anybody. Nobody has to be put on the
call
spot.
on people.
Heather, you're right. Are you working on anything this week?
Yeah, I'm going to haul off the extra pallets out.
Woo!
With Ron and Eric and Mark and all the guys help. William.
Right on. You got something?
Yeah,
Sorry?
I'm just coming to GAs and participating like always.
Yay!
We have Mark today here.
Yeah, I'm going to occupy the front line up there.
Gonna occupy the front lawn?
Front line.
Front line.
You want to call it lawn?
Ron? Do you have anything you want to work on? Ron's just being Ron.
Ron's made this place look amazing.
Yes, thank you, Ron. And everybody that helped him.
I'm just going to continue that for the next
Yes.
Excellent. I hope to go to a facilitation working group meeting that we're planning for tomorrow. So that'll be great. And I'm excited about the tent working group meeting. That'll be happening maybe Thursday. And there's a lot of stuff going on. And I'm currently working on trying to do more of a healthcare event in the future. And I thought somebody wants to do finance stuff also. So if it's the same person, great. If it's another one, we get 2. So thanks, everybody. I know this wasn't our usual visioning, but I hope that this sort of prompted a little bit of thinking, and hopefully those of you who didn't report back maybe got some ideas of things you can plug into, both here or virtually. So I really appreciate everybody who participated and everybody who listened. Next in our process, I'd like to review and finalize our agenda. So we do have the online conspiracy thing that Jeff will hopefully elaborate on. What other items do we have that need to go on the agenda for today? Amanda?
I have 2. One is the idea of indoor space.
Yep.
and one is kind of has suddenly been brought to our attention, and we're trying to figure out if it's our problem. Possible vandalism question from business owner next door.
I like it that way better. Bert, and then David.
I'd like to put visioning on and talk about what's going well and what we might do to improve our vision.
The visioning discussions or just
how we approach it, what it's all about.
Kind of related to Nicole. Yeah. David.
Tonight, Mayor Chilton is announcing that on December 15th at noon, there's going to be the Declaration of Rights,
Bill of Rights
Day. I don't know if that's a potential venue to have an action.
When was it?
The December 15th at noon.
Yeah, it'll be here.
Certainly right here.
No, it's here.
Yes, it's right here.
Okay.
That's easy.
Might be worthwhile.
So I guess we're in it.
This was this is picking back up on Diane's point. It's been on the agenda, I feel like, a couple times, but to try and talk a little bit more about the ways we expect the online and offline. I don't know if that's an agenda item or it's kind of a discussion. I think it's an agenda item. Yeah, sort of like tone and purpose. I mean, like, but also discussing what we gets excluded. Just discussing.
Okay, online versus offline conversation.
Or not? Yeah, both. Yeah.
I know that, and I don't know if this ever addressed, we had a PR question that Carl had brought up like a week and a half ago before Thanksgiving, and I don't know if it was ever discussed because I missed a couple of GAs.
No, there was not.
Okay. PR. So the context of that was simply how we are perceived outside of our own group.
Yeah.
We all know we love or something like that, each other. We don't know what other people dislike or something like that, us, insert phrase. So how are we perceived outside of? That's what PR means. So I'll put that on.
That might be a business.
So we have a hefty agenda, but very exciting. If anybody else has anything to add, please let me know. I'll let the folks over there see. Vanna White, no? All right, so first, before we go into our agenda, we have working group report back. Sunday we did a little bit of working group cleanup. I forgot about one group. There was a group called Do It Ourselves at Cassandra Bottom Line. I listed that as inactive, but anybody's welcome to reactivate it or to be included in something else. So anybody in a working group have a report back?
Becca from media, and if anybody has pictures that they want put on our Facebook page or the website, you could email them to OccupyCHmedia@gmail.com. That information is on our website if you forget. So any pictures from marches or just the camp or people that you would love to share, I'm sure everybody would like to see them.
And also to media, just again, people that are willing to speak to media or want to be, we'd love to have a list with your contact information that we can sort of refer and diversify who's getting talked to. And again, we put out, this is a GA, I got one response to someone who wants to speak on the 15th, and I think we will just go with Alana, who volunteered, but I wanted to put that out there that we sort of throw things out like that.
Okay. Heather, which one are you?
I'll be.
I'm Heather. I'm on the events work group. I just want to let you know something quirky going on with the calendar.
Oh, yeah.
You may see that there are events. Right now it's just a couple. It's like Saturdays there's a GA listed that doesn't exist, and if you click on it, it says sorry. Then there's two events listed for the CVS on Wednesday. One of them will tell you nothing. Go to the other one. It tells you scads of information. So, and I also want to temperature check as to whether I should give announcements about events now or at the end of GA. Yeah. End of GA twinkles.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. Now. You ready?
Wait. Before you start, when was the last time you checked the calendar?
Today.
Like earlier in the day?
Why?
Because it needed to be updated, and I updated it, and so it might have fixed it.
Oh, okay. It was a couple hours ago, but I wasn't
Okay, I don't know.
checking it either for that.
Okay. So it might be fixed.
Okay. All right. So the first event to think about, and you can talk to David about it more, is the March to CVS. If you want to protest the new two-story CVS being built in Scarborough. The art walk Alana mentioned is Friday from 6 to 9. Bring your art. That's in Scarborough too, or down that way. 10 o'clock this Saturday morning. You brought up the parade, PIE, so if you want to talk to somebody before you go. On Saturday, also in the evening, there will be a teach-in by Ainsley Briggs on releasing trauma and rage in favor of more productive emotions. And we're thinking that's going to be at the Scarborough Yoga Studio to get in Scarborough more, since we are in Chapel Hill, Scarborough. I think that's going to happen. Sunday, if you meet at Jack Spratz at 11, you can help do some house hunting for the HRC. Sifting through material, possibly going to look at a few places to see if they work. And then later that day, at 2 o'clock, there's a lead metta meditation. So it's an open heart meditation for justice and for green earth. And then I want to, and where will that go? That will be actually, at the moment, we're thinking here, especially if the weather continues to check the calendar for alternate spaces. And then also the whole Christmas event items, which would be zombie walk, but also a Santa land in a mall, not disruptive, totally, not even verbal. Like this is a way for Occupy to encourage type. I mean, it's just one. You could do disruptive too, but this is one kind that's not disruptive because it's that city Santa land. A way to remind people of some things that maybe they should also be asking for rather than just things. And we're doing that quietly and not so quick. So you want to talk about that after GA? Fantastic. Ash couldn't be here, but Candace started this conversation, and she's right here. So you want to talk about some more with us so we can chat. I think that's it. Thank you, Heather. I see we have some new folks towards the back. I don't know if people want to scoot in like a few feet so we can contract the circle a little, because I see a lot of empty space here, and I don't mind close company. I mean, not in my space, but near my space. So I feel like Heather kind of took the wind out of your thing. I didn't know.
Let David speak.
You all the details over there.
Yeah, we've got a march.
David with Direct Action.
I'm David with Direct Action. We've got a march to CVS tomorrow. We'll be meeting here at 6. The meeting starts at 7, so hopefully we'll be here for about 15 to 20 minutes, just kind of assembling, making some noise, and then we'll head out. You have the option to attend the meeting in Scarborough. It would be great if you did. I'm not sure if they're going to be asking for input. Matt probably has more information on that than I do.
I think at this one it's the developers hosting the neighborhood meeting.
Not the Board of Aldermen.
Okay.
Yeah, they will take comments. I'm pretty sure they're going to.
Point of information.
I want to put a point of information that I got a call yesterday from someone who really was interested in what the GA said about it, because he thought that there were a lot of nuances to the situation that people need to learn about. And so he was curious what the GA said, also to get his support, his opinion. So just, I don't know, like sometimes you have a set position, and sometimes this might be an opportunity to understand the nuances of, like, I think I don't know what the issues are, but I just want to put that out there.
Where are we marching to?
To the town hall.
Okay. In Scarborough.
Yeah. In
okay.
Scarborough. Also on Friday. From 6 to 9, we will be in the lot to the right of Seagrove Pottery in Scarborough. That's 206 Main Street, right after Cat's Cradle and before you get to the intersection by Armadillo Grill. We'll start setting up at about 5:15, 5:30. If you have anything, whether it's Occupy related or just personal art that shows off your individuality as an occupier, it would be great to have it. I'm sure we'll find ways to work it in. We have a number of great things already offered and promised, but it's a large space, so we could use as much as possible. If you can't be there the whole time, feel free to bring it by any time between 6 and 9. Then also Saturday morning, The parade starts at 10. If we have a group of people that are interested in seeing if they can find a way into the march, you need to be lined up between 7 and 8 over by the planetarium. So it's kind of early. I haven't had much feedback as to whether or not people want to do that. If not, we can also try to enter the march later as it's already started moving. So the options are kind of plentiful, and if you have any questions, comments, would like to volunteer for that, please shoot direct action and email at
$25 otherwise.
$35 to go as a group, and they don't guarantee you a space if you didn't have it in by November 27th. So they basically say they're more than happy to take your money and leave you out in the cold. So I figure it's better to see what we can do the morning of, or we figure. Anyway, that's it for actions this week. As were mentioned online, there's a lot of people who seem to have ideas for actions or don't think that we're doing enough or would like to do actions in a different sense. Please, by all means, submit your ideas, requests, things that you'd like to bottom line to direct action. We can do whatever. It definitely shouldn't be me up here doing all these. I'd love to see like more participation for bottom lining these actions, and I think that will also give us a much larger plurality of direct action. So that's it for DA.
Right on. Okay, any other report back? I could list the various groups. We have other groups. Yes, Candace?
For the sake of not getting scratched off the list, I'm still trying to call a meeting for the Solidarity Economy Work Group. Well, there's about 5 people on the email list right now. I've only heard back from one of them so far about a time and a day, so if anybody else wants to get involved in that, that's more available or whatever, just see me after GA.
Right on. As I mentioned, facilitation is meeting tomorrow. I know that fundraising is also supposed to be meeting with the 10th City Village on Thursday at 5. So that'll maybe be a joint meeting to talk about budgeting and how to make sure we have enough money to meet the needs of the camp here. So that was sort of a dual report, even though I'm not a member of either of those. But sorry.
Fundraising or finance? There are 2 different ones?
Fundraising/finance.
Okay, because finance had a meeting today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then Steve was going to join the 10th Village Working Group meeting on Thursday.
Okay.
Oh.
But we had our meeting today.
Do you have a report back?
No, we're going to do it Thursday.
Okay.
6:40.
Oh, good time. Thanks. Okay.
James is occupied, so I'll just say they're preoccupied. Outreach. Steve would like some volunteers to go with him on Sunday at noon, I believe, to the United Church on Martin Luther King Boulevard. Is that correct?
Yes.
We'd like to have 7 occupiers who can speak for 2 or 3 minutes about why they are involved with Occupy. We have been invited there, and they would like to support us. So if you can do that, please let Steve know. And also tomorrow afternoon at 6 here, the outreach group is going to try to work on the outreach document to make it more consensual. So if you care to join us, see you there.
What time did you say that was on Sunday?
Noon.
Any other report back? I think we have quite a lot covered. Education have any? I know you guys just did your mission statement. Yeah. All right. So if there are no other report backs, thank you everybody for all your report backs. So do we have any tabled items? I think some of our agenda items qualify as tabled items too. Nobody knows of tabled items. FYI, I hope to start keeping track of that soon on another page somewhere, but for now they kind of occasionally disappear. So I'd like to move into our actual agenda. So Jeff?
Conspiracy, and if you're online saying, hey, wouldn't it be a great idea to go and trespass at Abbey Court? If the Abbey Court owners decide they want to sue someone and they don't know who to sue, they can go online and find out who's been talking about it, and potentially you could be prosecuted for conspiracy. Now, being very honest and open, you might like that. You know, it might be a chance to get in the papers. I'm not going to say that otherwise. But if you don't, just be careful. You know, that's all. Don't get too wound up about it. Chapel Hill and Carrborough. Well, I don't know about Chapel Hill. They've sort of gone down in my estimation. Carrborough doesn't really have any bad feelings about Occupy at all. Those of you who've been following what Mark Children has done will know that. But I saw that there was some controversy over Mark posting something about, to both sides at the March to Abbey Court, about not being non-violent and reminding people that it was trespassing. It wasn't supposed to be heavy-handed. He was doing precisely what I'm doing now, which is warning. Not saying don't do it, but just be aware of it. Do I need to say anything further about conspiracy, or is that fairly straightforward?
So, I'm not sure that everybody heard, because some of the people who I think would have been nice to have heard are talking along the edges. So, hopefully it'll be included in the minutes, and those folks will hear as well. Diane?
If something is said in this kind of face-to-face group, and it is written down, or if any of you are here for Abbey Court or for other sort of purposes, could that also be counted? Or is it something about having the record online that is easier to
No, again, don't get too worked up about it. It's just something to bear in mind. There is no one, as far as I'm aware, who's sitting out there waiting to come and pounce on Occupy. But any discussion about something that is within the context of society, as it is a crime, that conversation is conspiracy.
Even face-to-face.
Even face-to-face. But don't get terribly worked up about it unless you see somebody wearing a badge saying police and they say, you know, what's standing next to you.
This dovetails nicely into what we spoke about last week, and how do we communicate? Specifically, as we were talking about, do we telegraph plans about things? Do we worry about being under surveillance? And I believe that was a visioning conversation we had. And the essence of what everyone came to in the different groups was that we need more face-to-face. That any sort of electronic media, social media, anything that has a record opens us up. And as we become much more politically noticeable and active and targetable, I think we need to take this into mind. Now that, we've had, almost twice in a row kind of notices that we need to face-to-face more. I think we should take that to heart.
Okay.
In response to the comments about face-to-face interaction, I largely agree that is the better way to go about things. However, I think we should also remember that just because you're face-to-face with someone does not mean that they're a person who is vested in the interest of this movement or vested in your safety or your interest at all. They could be someone who's reporting to someone else. So if you're planning actions, you're planning things that are questionable, those planning sessions need to happen in private. There's a really, really great write-up on security culture that Camera or someone posted on our Facebook page that everyone should read. There's a great scene on security culture that I got at the flea market, and I'm sure our friends from iBooks will hook us up with in mass, because everybody needs to understand these things. I feel like it's much better to be hyper-vigilant and secretive than it is to put ourselves out there and be sorry rather than safe.
I want to say that there's a flip side, though, to that security culture, and that starts to be a culture of paranoia and a culture of, not trusting someone you've never met before and sort of, going against the idea of public space and occupation, that there has to be a sort of cultivation and a middle ground in which, transparency is what we want to have as much as possible. If you're talking about a direct action that requires some timing and spontaneity, you know what I mean? Then you do that. But I do think that it becomes a really slippery slope to start being really, really, really paranoid about, the things that, and also because the more transparent we are, the more we can say, obviously this was not a criminally intended conspiracy because we did it in front of 50 people or whatever. Whereas once you
and videotaped.
And in the GA minutes. I mean, obviously there are strategic reasons, but I've watched the security culture become a paranoid culture, and it's really not pleasant.
David, Diane, Jeff. Did you have a direct response, Jeff? Or can
No, I can wait.
David.
Yeah, I was going to say, as I pointed out at the visioning group we had on the same thing, we're an above-ground group. Like, we're not openly doing illegal activities. So I think that the security culture stuff is important to remember for anything that kind of falls into that gray area. But for the vast majority of our stuff, I think that we should be aware of the fact that we're an above-ground group and should shy away from making things incredibly secretive and cloaked, and that transparency is a huge ally that we've got.
I don't want to be repetitious, but I understand completely what Liz said, and I think we should be really aware, and as we've seen in a lot of other places, and as we've seen historically, sort of how security and policing institutions work. But I think it's also very important that to understand that part of what they want is for us to be afraid of each other. Part of what they desire is for us to be atomized and divided and afraid. And so acting as, like knowing, as Liz says, that this could be happening, but acting as if it is not, I think is, I'm quoting Václav Havel here, but I think it's actually a really important aspect towards the world that we live in now.
Nicole had a point of information, then Jeff and Matt.
I was putting myself on the spot.
Oh, okay. Jeff, Matt, Nicole.
Yeah, having told you the one side, the flip side, as David has been pointing out, is don't get too worked up about it. There is a flip side. The flip side is if you're completely open, as Occupy is, we're completely transparent. We're not exactly innocent, but we are about good work. And oops, oh my goodness gracious me, if I did something wrong, I didn't really intend to. Intent is very important in terms of breaking the law. Indeed, just to really confuse you, if you do go off into a corner and conspire, that's definitely conspiracy, rather than doing it online. But the other thing to remember in a very laid-back way is that somebody has to interpret the law. Most lawyers are idiots. I know I used to be one. And the really, truly idiots become judges. And the judges around here are all pretty much in the same sort of political category as you are. And they're perfectly entitled to throw stuff out. I don't think anybody around here is going to find a judge that is going to do any harm to Occupy. So just be aware of it, but don't let it stop the flow.
Matt, Nicole.
I just want to make everybody more paranoid and say that secret groups are the easiest to infiltrate, and historically secret meetings have often been the targeted thing by people wanting to steer a movement towards their own end or something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I was going to say something similar. Like, I have dear friends who were part of they got national news last year, British undercover cops, and there were some American ones in New Orleans that were part of that, and, it was people they thought were their closest buddies. Like, that kind of work is going to... But, so I'm just...
Busted!
The secretive thing has all these possible limitations, so, again, be aware, and obviously for strategic purposes, but there are so many fallbacks that the idea of security culture can have.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. So our next item, if that's okay, is going to move on to indoor space. Since we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 items, and it's about 10 up. I'd like to sort of set about 10 minutes per item, and if we need to go longer, we can do longer or shorter. Is that okay with everybody? Yeah? All right. So let's do indoor space. We're obviously not going to solve and find ourselves in indoor space in 10 minutes. But Amanda had proposed this as an agenda item.
Right. It's kind of been popping up for quite some time. How do we not only move forward in terms of doing outreach and putting on events, but how do we have space to make Occupy grow? I know this is going to be an ongoing debate, and I don't want to get too caught up in it now, but I would just like to maybe ask the General Assembly's permission to maybe begin putting out feelers that would get some temperature check, so to speak, of what's happening in the community that we might be able to work with. Not in terms of getting a high-rent place, but, some basement somewhere, somebody's extra room, so that we can have a meeting space, we can have a place for work groups to go, anything where we're not operating under adverse conditions. Now, I'm not going to go and propose doing Craigslist ads or anything like that, but informal, inquiries as to what is possible. In conjunction with this, I think maybe as an ongoing discussion to see how Occupy Chapel Hill Carborough moves away from the plaza as the prime place that our business takes place. I know the encampment is very, very important, but the future is not going to be beholden to holding on to here. So, kind of looking at the future, indoor space is a long-term conversation, and seeing if we can just start putting some feelers out. How people's temperature is on putting feelers out for indoor space.
So Amanda's doing an official temperature check on putting out feelers. Yep.
What is a feeler?
Yeah, I'm pretending.
Everybody starts groping each other.
It's another of those things that's illegal.
An informal.
No, it's not.
Informal inquiry. Informal inquiry.
Okay, so a temperature check on Amanda doing feelers inquiry. Anybody have any concerns or specific questions about that? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. When we have the GAs and other meetings here, we go inside the post office for when the weather is bad. So wouldn't that be an indoor space, except for the tents, but for the meetings in the GA?
Well, our going inside for post office is, again, very informal. We have not occupied the post office, and they are just being nice and not throwing us out. So the space that I'm envisioning would be somewhere where Occupy Chapel Hill Carborough could hang its hat, people could come and internet their hearts out, leave papers out, work groups could come and actually meet, so it's not all in cyberspace, something just a little more structured and not cold. Because if the post office decided they were going to lock the doors at 5 o'clock, like they do the windows, we're literally out in the cold. And Occupy is starting to do more than just have general assemblies. We are wanting the work groups to create more stuff. So I'm just thinking that having an indoor space would be a positive. It wouldn't be for general assemblies. It wouldn't be for anything. I mean, we might wind up with a 10 by 15, bedroom space.
Becca, and then Eric.
Do you have a vision of maybe turning Occupy Chapel Hill into some sort of organization instead of just being occupied? Is that sort of what you're feeling like it would be?
I don't have a vision of what Occupy is going to be.
Okay.
She's just pulling out feelers for an indoor space.
Right.
So I don't think there's any subtext.
No, there's no subtext. I'm not trying to make this into a limited liability corporation or anything like that. It's just the tool I sense that we need. We're literally out in the cold. And having some, 24/7 indoor space would be a benefit and a positive tool for us.
Can I just ask how that differs from winterizing the camp?
Winterizing the camp is, taking down the ones that weren't used, cleaning up, the changes that the food presentation is going through. Winterizing the camp is literally just what we have to do here. And we don't really conduct any business here. We do greeting, we do literature outreach, but nothing, and general assembly, of course. But there's not a tool like an indoor space that winterizing is covered.
Okay. Eric, and then David.
So I just want to make a point. I think that one of the main reasons that we've been so successful is because we've been, open and really close to campus. I mean, that's kind of why I came in, was because I was walking by one day and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. So I think it'd be nice if you are trying to find a closed space or something like that, hopefully we can find something close by campus or something like that, because it kind of makes it more accessible. And also, we could hold meetings there for working groups and stuff, but I still think it would be nice to have things outside, to show people that we're really meeting. And just like walking inside sometimes, if it's not cold, it's better to be out here because we express ourselves and we can see the work and things.
Okay, David?
Mic check.
He said he could talk to Amanda afterwards. Anyone else have questions or concerns overall? We did a temperature check. Candace?
I just had a comment about something that Matt had mentioned previously about having roving occupations that kind of spontaneously occupy spaces throughout Chapel Hill and Carrboro to have meetings for work groups or possibly even general assemblies as we're transitioning into the winter and feeling around. That's something that we can consider to do as well.
So maybe if we can have that, if you can remember, or that would be a separate agenda item rather than an indoor. I can tack it on at the end, and depending on people's feeling and timing, is that okay, Kim? So roving GAs.
Or work groups.
Or groups. Okay. Anyone else have any questions or concerns for Amanda? If anybody's interested in connecting with Amanda about this, Amanda, you'll be here after the GA for a bit. You can connect with Amanda after the GA, and you can talk further. Is that okay? All right. We're going to move on. We did a little under 10 minutes. Thank you, guys. Vandalism, Amanda.
It was brought to several of our attention this afternoon by Daisy Menace, who is either the owner or general manager of these buildings here, a couple of buildings. There's a little bit of paint graffiti on the back of this building. If you go down the alley, look directly at the building, on top of the stairs, you'll see a big A and some stylized stuff. If you stare hard, you might be able to turn it into enter something. So, it's been brought to our attention that
is it at least done well?
Ron and I looked at it and consoled with her and said, yep, it's graffiti. There's a big A. And yes, so we are maybe being made aware of that as being perhaps in her eyes responsible or not. So I'm just bringing this to the General Assembly's attention that this has been brought to our attention, that this may be our problem. So, anyway, so with that said...
Wait, yeah. That's a good question.
Sorry, so Ron, Eric, and then David. Can we move into that? Bert.
Before me.
All right, Ron.
Okay. First before me.
Okay.
First before me.
As the manager pointed out, she's working 70 hours a week and doing everything.
You can keep talking.
No. We're having a meeting. Can you just hold on just a second? Thank you.
As the manager pointed out, she's currently working 70 hours a week. She's having a tough go in this economy, and it doesn't endear us to her. She has to call the police. The police came out. I saw them take the report. Then she has to file a report with her insurance company. There's also graffiti, or whatever you want to call it, tagging 3 doors down at another merchant. This is not helping us with the community whatsoever. It's not helping us with the merchants, with the police, with the insurance companies, or with the town people. I don't know how it happened. but the handwriting is very distinct, and I've seen it throughout town.
First, then Eric, then David, then Brian.
This is not a new phenomenon. It is here, perhaps. If there's any way we can clean it up, I would say, hey, let's do it. But I'd like to point out that in my business in Carborough, we painted our walls on the doorway about 6 times from the same graffiti. It's not just here.
Excuse me. No, he's going in a tent.
She's got cameras. Go ahead, right over. So, hey, Becca, can somebody else do Becca, leave the camera here.
What do you mean leave the camera here?
So, I think we have enough people over there taking care of one person. If everybody's okay with me sitting here, unless you want to all join in and stare.
Who said it wasn't his tent?
What? He's going back in it.
It is his tent.
He sleeps here now?
Brian, is that okay? Was I too cavalier?
Who says?
He put the tent up. It's his tent.
Was it us that did that? I don't understand why they're doing that. Because there's graffiti all over campus. There's graffiti all over town. Why are they pointing fingers at us?
Well, it's kind of a guilt by association in their mind. I'm just a messenger here, folks.
Oh, I know. I'm not
so, you know,
what makes them think
because we're Occupy Chapel Hill and we love anarchy. And there's a big A that kind of looks like anarchy in some person's mind. And if you look at it real hard, you might be able to turn it into
I just wanted to point out, as somebody who doesn't self-label as an anarchist, that I'm very turned off that we're going to say there's an A, not a stylized A, not an A with a circle around it, that there's an A followed by an illegible word, and suddenly we're throwing people who have a particular political persuasion under the bus and saying that maybe these people did it. As was just pointed out, there's graffiti up and down Franklin Street, there's graffiti on campus, I mean everything from...
Wait, hang on.
What?
Back. Okay.
Everything from wheat pasting to spray paint. So I'd just like to throw it out there that this is a town issue. Granted, we are close to that. I think, you know, if people want to clean it up, I think that's a great gesture that we can make to the local businesses to say, hey, look, we're willing to help out. At the same time, I don't think that we should be taking responsibility for it. I don't think that we should be saying this is our fault. But again, I think that offering help goes a long way.
Brian, David, and then
Mark.
Frank.
There are a lot of people who would like us to clean up their businesses for them. It would be great if we would run around cleaning up every business that had any vaguely political graffiti on it. People write political graffiti in this society because some people have less access to public voice than other people do. I don't think it's our job to erase their voices. I think it's our job to create a space in which everyone can have an equal voice and to focus on that. So if we do that effectively, there will be less reason for people to make graffiti a hypothesis. But I don't think it's our task to do free labor for other people who are trying to make a profit like this. Thanks.
David, Mark, Nick.
I completely agree with that, and I'm new here. That being said, I think that as a group that is attempting to help others to be less uneasy with what it is that is being said and what we're doing, that without taking responsibility for what goes on here, that as a PR move to offer assistance, I would be willing to offer assistance, at least take some responsibility for the orderliness of the area that's directly around where the camp is. I think that it's a good idea to avoid the appearance of vandalism, even if it's not something that is taking responsibility.
And just a point of information, so Amanda's more of the messenger because she's here a lot. I know some of the comments are directed at Amanda. I just want to make sure everybody who's not familiar is clear. Just Amanda's here a lot. So she just hears and is basically informed, can you let your people know? Or something along those lines. And she's put in that position, so she's certainly not going to be the one to sort of eat the comments and say, my fault. She'll pass it along and we get to all absorb it.
And I have given myself as a contact person for her, and I told her I'd present it to the General Administration, or General Assembly, and too many A's. We'll hear back from her. If any of us are skilled in removing paint from brick, please, offer your skills and services so we can offer that to her. I know that trying to get that off is a couple $100. We don't have a couple $100, even if it was our fault. So
we have a few more people on staff. We've been at this for about 5 minutes. I would like to actually sort of reach a level of resolution, though, on this, since there's an airing. So I'll try to tie it together, but Mark, Nick.
Sorry to belabor this, but I did go over with some specialists from the linguistics department, and they deduced that they're really trying to say anagram. So it's obvious to me that the cops wrote this, hoping that we would waste time trying to figure out the secret kind of covert cop meaning to what was written on the thing. But it's clear it means anagram, not anarchy.
It did take them 30 minutes to show up.
Nick?
That's interesting because graffiti is a serious problem. I've noticed, for example, there's been graffiti on the buses that say Wells Fargo. In fact, one of those buses carried away some of my friends to jail. So I'd really like to see Occupy Chapel Hill taking on an anti-graffiti campaign, but not like little small name taggers who just like right on the back of buildings. Let's go for the people who are really actually whose graffiti is causing harm to the environment, causing harm to workers, causing harm to our community. So there's examples all over town of this kind of noxious graffiti that just because it's paid for doesn't make it any less noxious. In fact, it makes it more noxious.
Woo! I sense a direct action. So if anyone, I don't know if I'm usurping some sort of authority, but in the spirit of we all are autonomous beings operating within a sort of a collective where we all have shared affinity, I would like to get a temperature check on whether the group is okay with those people who are interested and comfortable with it, who would like to pursue removing said tagging, can be okay with doing that without that representing, kind of like in settlements among businesses, they do not admit any wrongdoing, even though they screwed everyone. Nothing has even happened. It's not established that it's an us thing. It's nothing. It could be most likely nothing to do with us. But I also don't want to kind of impinge on people's freedom to do what feels right internally. So if there are people here who feel that it kind of self-actualizes them to assist the business, I feel like we as a General Assembly should oppose people acting autonomously. Can I get... I'm seeing weird, like, would you block people acting autonomously? Okay. Or are you like, way too big words? Sorry. So if I get sort of a temperature check on those people who feel strongly about it being okay, us as a group, we're okay with them doing that. Are people okay with...
They're yeah.
Okay.
I don't care.
Anybody who's bothered by it can maybe, or is willing to just step up and see whatever the next... Being a good citizen or good neighbor, whatever that means, can maybe check in with Amanda. Is that okay? Can you be so Amanda's point person right now for indoor and for graffiti. So if anybody wants to check in with her without our admitting any wrongdoing. So we're going to move on to the next agenda item. Is that okay? Okay. So next we have visioning. First,
okay.
You want to bring up?
Before I bring that up, I just want to point out that someone has done some beautiful artwork on the plaza, and you should check it out. It's all over the place. The visioning.
Oh, look at that one.
For those of you who aren't aware of that, we used to have our GAs primarily as nuts and bolts business, and we had a visitor who came and said, why don't y'all talk about important things other than what the kitchen is happening or cleaning or the weather? So we decided to have a daily or GA every GA would have a visioning process. I like it, but I just want to say I think it's inadequate. I think that the 10 minutes for us to sit around in a group and just make up stuff, say things that we really mean, and then it gets reported back, is just not adequate for the types of subjects that we are all concerned about. I'd just like to put that out there and ask us if we can develop a new approach or
David?
Yeah, something that I proposed back when we first started the visioning groups was that in addition to doing the specific visioning groups, at that time we weren't having several GAs. We were having GAs every day. Now that we're not having GAs every day, I'd like to put this back out there and suggest that in addition to working groups meeting on days that GAs aren't meeting, we can also have visioning groups meeting on days when we're not having GA. Whether we want to do it here, or we want to do it at Weaver Street, or we want to have it pop up in different places with large signs announcing what the group is talking about so that people who pass by can see it and join it. You know, that's what was going on at Freedom Plaza in D.C., that's what was going on up in Zuccotti Park. I mean, it's a really simple way to kind of raise awareness and to draw people into conversations that generally they don't have during the day, but that everybody's got a strong opinion on because it relates to our daily lives in one way or another. So I'd kind of like to float this back out there as doing both working groups and kind of visioning meetings for whatever, 60, 90, however many minutes appropriate, out in the larger community as well as right here.
I'd like to put myself on staff, but I also don't want to, as facilitator, take that privilege, so I'd like to let out other people go on. Yes?
What you just said, would that mean we would not have visioning at GAs, or we have both?
Well, it would be in addition to just like, because we only do about 10, 15 minutes of visioning at GA, and I think that it's a good way to bring people in and engage them on stuff, but it never really gets to the meat of the issues. So I think that we could have both of them, unless people are opposed.
That was a carnivore metaphor.
Apologies, I am what I am.
James?
Please take over my snack section. Mind on whatever you want.
Thanks. So, what about having, say, Saturday, you know, and our old GA spot be visioning Saturday, you know, or just try, I was just thinking to sort of make it more concrete and just say, like, Saturday at, because it gets cold and dark early, maybe not 6, but say Saturday at 5, we could just have our first visioning to make it like concrete. Is that too specific for people? Do we want to talk more about doing it and a couple more times?
I like the decisiveness.
So are there conflicts in scheduling? Yes.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that if you make it too concrete, you might be overlapping with Saturday events that are scheduled. I mean,
well, that's, as the event...
He's putting stuff in a bag.
On Saturday, this Saturday, is there some conflict?
It's not that it's scheduled on top of it. It's like, if there are multiple Saturday events that people want to attend, they may not be able to devote their entire Saturday to Occupy. I guess I'm saying maybe a day during the week would be better.
Oh, okay. Do we have a calendar of a day during the week?
Yes, we can leave it open that say if somebody wants to do a discussion group on anything specific, which I would imagine people do, they make the proposal either at a GA or to the listserv, and we get that out through as many channels as possible, through events, through the listserv, through the Facebook, to let people know that, hey, we'll be having this visioning discussion on this day, and that way if there are multiple visioning discussions in a week, they can schedule around each other or meet at the same time, you know, figure those things out in a given time space. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I had a question for clarification from Bert or from anyone. So, as I understand it, the present visioning sessions are sort of just about, like, starting conversations on topics or themes that come up a lot, or sometimes on more specific political issues that relate to our shared vision here. And so I'm wondering if for a longer, like hour and a half or 2 hour visioning session, if the purpose would change, like if the purpose would be to come up with some
It is getting a little hard to have meetings.
Who are they? And when did they move in?
Oh no, it's just a gentleman.
No, there's two guys, and I want to know, when did they start sleeping here?
I'm not sure. I'm sorry. If you feel like you can speak louder.
People's mic.
People's mic?
People's mic.
Right. Or is that work for you?
I love people's mic.
Give mic check.
Mic check?
Mic check! Ooh.
Question. The new visioning sessions?
The new visioning sessions?
Since they may be longer now?
Since they may be longer now?
Will they have an additional purpose?
Will they have an additional purpose?
For example, coming up with collective statements.
Coming up with collective statements.
Or something else. I ask for clarification and opinion.
Ask for clarification and opinions.
Nepal had been interested in setting up kind of goals and things. It was willing to sort of bottom line, and I think all of these we're all kind of converging on. What I'm hearing is everyone's converging on kind of wanting us to have specific things that we are doing or standing for or whatever. So I guess Nicole's not here, so she can't speak to that, but I didn't directly answer.
Yes, I would like to thank you all. I would like to thank you all.
I would like to thank you all
For the march on
Saturday.
The Abbey Court residents just loved it.
The Abbey Court residents just loved it.
Now, I have a suggestion for a session.
I have suggestions for a session.
We are going to have a March 18th celebrating Human Rights Day.
We are going to have a March 18th celebrating Human Rights Day
In the Art Center.
in the Art Center.
And
I talked with Sammy Slade
about the possibility of
about the possibility of an Occupation Chapel Hill, talking about participatory democracy.
So that was one specific suggestion for a potential visioning type session. Is anybody willing to sort of bottom line this concept to make sure we don't lose it?
I have
GA to GA?
information. You remember how you did the poll thing? Maybe we should do one of those again.
About a day?
About a day, and yeah.
What I heard from David was let's not wed ourselves to a day.
I mean, honestly, if bottom lining is just meant like keeping track of what groups are meeting when and where and making sure that that stays afloat, I'd be happy to do that.
So I've been doing that for working groups a little bit, but for this visioning concept.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So, and also mainly keeping this idea alive. I mean, Bert mentioned it, so I would hope you would keep it alive.
Gladly. I'm happy to keep it alive. I'd just like to put the disclaimer out there that does not mean I'm coming up with ideas.
Right.
You know, I'm happy to be a conduit for all of this to function, and I think it would serve a great purpose, but it needs, as does everything in direct democracy, participation. So,
Bert, did you have any further comments? I feel like we haven't said, yes, we have a visioning session scheduled on X day of X, but do you feel like this has sort of been the...
No, I think we're moving in the right direction.
Okay.
I'll set up a space on the forum as well.
Does anyone else have any other questions or suggestions or feedback about this concept of using our spare days when we're not engaged to have visioning and larger issue discussions? Does anyone else have anything else?
I'm sorry to belabor the question, but I don't understand what they're for. Is the purpose still just discussion, simply to talk? Or is there a further purpose of articulating a shared political vision for Occupy Chapel Hill that will inform our collective action? Or something else?
My understanding was that that would vary from whatever session to session, that these are very in the initial idea, they were very impromptu, setting up my sign, come on over, and then if it turned into that, maybe it's just kick ideas around, maybe, I mean, if it turns into a teach-in, I can just see it turning into a lot of different things, if people are comfortable with it being that undefined. So I guess you could do that, but I thought originally not necessarily.
There's no overarching theme that they must all do X, Y, and Z. My understanding was it is what the person setting that one up makes of it. What Bert, is that would you have liked to have seen the visioning discussions end up becoming action items, or just bringing the discussions larger?
I had more political views, ideas about what we are doing or what's going on in the world, and lots of bright people here with great ideas. I want to hear that. I want to have time to talk about those things.
Okay, Becca?
Do you think we could put something on the forum for people to write, to maybe comment on things that they want to do visioning on?
David said he would.
No, I'm saying like just like a section where people could say, okay, I want this to be, and then we could have a whole list of things. Yeah. I can do that. Yeah.
I'll moderate, I guess.
Okay. Okay. I can do that.
All right. So back to the virtual world, but hopefully not permanently.
Yeah.
Virtual world with the purpose of coming back to the real world.
Hopefully we can get those up on the chalkboard as they pop up.
Okay. So do people feel okay with moving on from this item? Bert, you had brought it up. Are you okay? Great. Thank you. Bill of Rights Day, David, and just to give a little context, Peggy had come out here, and she is the person sort of spearheading, I guess, and she spoke to us, I think, last week about Bill of Rights Day here, asking us for our buy-in, because it'll be here, and she viewed it as our space, and it's not our space, it's the everybody's space. So,
oh my God.
So that was a little context. She sent me an email that I need to forward out to the rest of the listserv on Friday about looking for people to be involved. But I think it's important, to continue talking. So, yes, go ahead.
I just was bringing this idea up because I can envision a lot of good input that the Occupy movement can have on the Bill of Rights Day, and that the day where the Bill of Rights is to be read and celebrated, there are a lot of missed opportunities in the Bill of Rights, and also a lot of opportunities that are in writing that are not being honored or respected anymore. So to have some presence there seems a good opportunity. I'm going to be talking with members of Abbey Court about having a presence there because, as you know, a lot of the people there who are undocumented don't have the protections of any of the Bill of Rights. So, very few of the rights that other citizens have. So it was just an idea open for discussion. I didn't realize it had already been discussed.
It's important. It was discussed, but not fully. And she had mentioned actually also wanting to have immigrant, communities there. So, does anybody have any comments or questions or suggestions? Because this is happening next Thursday, the 15th at noon here. So it is coming up kind of quickly. We can open it up for a 5 or 10 minute discussion about what Bill of Rights Day being here means for us. Just to give another bit of information, Steve Peterson volunteered to speak about Occupy there. Peggy was looking for other volunteers. In addition, the way it works is it's first come, first served in terms of people reading each of the Bill of Rights. That's how she explained it. So if you want to show up here, you can, raise your hand or get on a list, and you can be one of the people who reads the Bill of Rights amendment by amendment on that day, to give you a sense of what it looks like. Does anybody else have any ideas on things we could or should do? So I will forward out to the listserv the email Peggy sent out. But do you have anything more you wanted to add about it? Or ideas?
Well, I think it's an interesting exercise to re-envision
what the Bill of Rights has to say about our government from a human rights perspective. There are a lot of human rights that are not mentioned in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and as Chapel Hill and Scarborough have both become signatories of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and as might be have some education or training about youth opportunities, what our interests are.
Okay. Would you like to, be a point person if anybody's interested in doing some parallel actions or else signage around Bill of Rights Day to connect with David after the General Assembly? Is that okay? And that maybe sounds like you might want some posters up about it, or maybe there's a separate dialogue and discussion that Bill of Rights Day just prompts in us that maybe we bring out as a result of that. With your permission, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Thank you, David. Online versus offline conversation. Nicole had brought this one up, and we sort of talked about this with the whole visioning thing. Nicole's not here. Is there anybody who would like to bring this item forward? We are. It's 7:25 now. We started at 6. We have PR and roving GA.
Do we know what her point was that she wanted to bring up?
That we should be talking in person and not online.
But that's what we made the discussion listserv for. To talk on, because we're not here every day. So we need to get some stuff talked about online.
I think part of what we need to consider is that not everybody is on the interwebs, that they can't get in there, that they're missing a lot. I mean, if I think about just the last couple of days, what was on the discussion listserv, it's a lot. So I don't even know how face-to-face we would cover all that, but in some way we need a space to bring that gap at least closer together.
Okay. Can I get on stack?
Okay. Candace?
I think that there are some things that we should prioritize now. I noticed that there was talk of an empty building on Facebook, on our Facebook page. That probably should not have, that conversation probably should have not been happening on the Facebook page. And I feel like, too, the idea that Amanda proposed and the idea that David wrapped up and articulated so well would give us more opportunities to have face-to-face conversations.
Oh my God, what was I going to say? I was so wrapped up in what you were saying. If we come to some sort of conclusion whenever we have something that is discussed that's important, maybe somebody in that conversation should say, okay, let's bring this to GA.
Like a report back from the virtual world.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff?
Yeah, this is my first meeting, and I sort of discovered Occupy by bits and pieces. First of all, reading about it in the newspaper, and then before I came here, reading your online. And I'm bound to say that, for instance, your online on the Facebook like page is not representative of you people here. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, or whether that's the PR section. But generally, I was talking with someone this morning, and they pointed out something which is very fair. It's also true of Weaver Street Market, which is that I look around here, and with certain excellent exceptions, we're all pretty white. And David mentioned about wanting to get some of the residents from Abbey Court involved. They generally do not have internet access. They are generally very reticent about standing up and standing forward. One of the best photographs I saw of the march was a close-up looking through some of the marches and a whole family. I don't know if some people from Abbey Court came, whether they'd understand what was going on. But when we talk about outreach and PR, I think we should remember the color quotient.
We have other people
You want to bottom line that?
Yeah, I mean, Spanish, English, there's some just informative things that if people don't have access to the internet, perhaps.
So that sort of moved into our PR item. Half done. First.
The person who brought up the PR issue has been here twice and left. I think it would be good if we can get that person to come and present his views to begin the conversation.
So I've asked him to come back before, and then he never made it on the agenda, and then he ceded his space. So, we seem to be
Point of information, it was on the agenda, and he left before it got to that point.
Okay.
So, can we table it?
Sure. I think we can all talk about it as well, but okay. So we can continue the online versus offline thing, kind of probably endlessly. It could become a visioning discussion kind of question about how we bridge the divide. I heard a good suggestion from Lila that having a newsletter. I heard a point about whether we are achieving a level of cultural competence in terms of we do not do translation of our GA. So how would we make ourselves accessible even if we were to invite communities from, say, Abbey Court or any other monolingual Spanish speakers to our group? That's something that we do need to consider. Our translation working group actually disbanded, recently. There wasn't a person bottom lining, it wasn't able to continue. So we definitely do have some issues here.
As another, fire under us to get this issue resolved, this new bill that's being passed, it says that websites are now responsible for the content their users post, and if you post something that's copywritten, they'll shut the website down. I, of course, cynically see that as, the minute that large actions or protests or anything is being planned on Facebook or on Twitter, and somebody happens to post a copywritten song, it'll be a really convenient excuse to shut the website down. Now, the internet has obviously been a really valuable tool for us, but I think it's important for us going forward not to rely on it completely. I don't really have a constructive suggestion for getting us offline and in the real world. I just wanted to, motivate us a little bit more.
Well, I was going to move on and just recognizing that the conversation can't go on forever, but it's the beginning. So, Jeff?
Well, I don't want to be teaching grandmother how to suck eggs, but back in the day before the computer and the broomstick and pretty much everything else, when I was active much younger, we had our own sort of people mic, and it was called the telephone. It was called leaning over the garden fence. Literally, if we had a group and we had something going on, I had 5 people I contacted. They had 5 people they contacted. And that was the conversation. I don't know if anyone's thought about that, but it doesn't all have to be online. Sorry to bring up vintage stuff.
Anyone else have anything else you want to add to this question? And feel free to bring it up. I think it's something we need to be conscious of. So if anyone's putting a thorn in the side of the GA, to recognize that not everyone has access to the internet, not everyone has communication abilities in terms of the English language. Not everyone has accessibility to physically get here, and at the same time can't even access the web either. So how do we bring this out there? Which sort of brings us to our next and last agenda item, was the roving GAs that I've talked about actually with a few people who talked separately. Candace?
I think David sewed it up, threw it together pretty well about going from place to place. He referenced the work group meetings and the visioning sessions, but I can't see why the GA wouldn't be part of that. The one thing that I do not like about the whole idea, but I feel we can somehow get past, is part of having a public space is having a space unmediated by consumerism. We would be meeting in places that would probably be like mitigated by consumerism, whether it be a coffee shop, people would have to buy things, or Weaver Street, people would have to buy things, or unless there's, I mean, if we don't have a problem with that as a group, I think it's a good way to do outreach at the same time, so.
Does anybody want to add to that concept? Pros and cons?
An idea would be we could sign up for example, Umstead Park has a nice pavilion, and maybe we could sign up for that a week in advance and put it out here on the chalkboard, on the internet, through the phone tree, whatever.
All right, so your park, are you on that? Yeah, you're up.
I don't like coal.
You don't like cold?
I don't like coal. And I think, there are a lot of principles to uphold, but there's a lot of practicals to look at too. We are being blessed by everything right now, to be, the beginning of December, and, we can run around like this and talk for 2 hours and not get hypothermia. Okay, that's not going to go for much too long, and it's going to be, 3 months, 4 months before, that goes away. And the struggle between principle and practical is going to, as far as I'm concerned, going to fall smack dab on practical. And I think we sell ourselves short and paint ourselves into corners by not seeing what, hampers us. And right now the weather is going to hamper us. And, more face-to-face, more, urging of work groups to get stuff done isn't going to really do well outside. And, the aversion to commercialism, the aversion to religious affiliations, the aversion to all the aversions we have to not coming in from the cold is going to hamper us. And this, I think, really dovetails to talking to people, passers-by, who don't know what we are yet. They still don't know what we are. We have to begin seeing what, on the outside of the goldfish bowl. And that's not going to really become clear or constructed until the cold isn't a companion piece.
Okay. So Jeff and then Candace.
Well, I have a pretty wicked sense of humor, which I've pretty much kept under control this evening. So my first non-serious suggestion was maybe we could approach Joe Riddle and ask him if he'd allow us into Yates' garage with permission this time. Okay, that didn't go down very well. Okay, sorry. But a serious one is Panzanella Restaurant, which is owned and operated by Weaver Street Market, is not used on a Monday evening. We use it...
Hang on 1 second.
Here's some noisy buses.
Loads of them. They don't use it on a Monday evening. They use it occasionally themselves to do their own art shows or so on. Weaver Street Market Cooperative ought to be on our side, and they ought to allow us to use it for free. I will make it my theme this week to go and ask them. They'll be delighted to get an email that isn't telling them they're doing their job wrong, so they might say yes.
Thank you, Jeff. Candace and Nick.
I guess I just wanted to maybe pay a little honor to the fact that we have been able to assemble in a public space without that problematic type of consumer interaction. I wasn't saying, I guess I was kind of being devil's advocate about the idea, but at the same time embracing the idea because it is such a powerful outreach tool, and it is a good way to keep momentum when we're freezing. So I guess I should just clarify why I said that. I think, although we're so eager to get inside where it's warm, I think we should also kind of, honor the fact that we've been here. Maybe even have a little winter going away funeral party. Yeah.
So the thing that I think is interesting about the Occupy movement is the way that through engaging critically with the concept of public and private space, it forces us to re-examine our whole assumptions about politics and the economy and everything, and resistance. So there are innumerable disadvantages to having roving GAs. The accessibility in terms of buses, consistency, visibility, all these things. So to me, there would need to be a really compelling reason why we should not just keep meeting here. The cold is obviously one, but before we start thinking about like renting spaces and asking for permission and like all these other things, I want to think about what makes Occupy distinct from all the rest of our boring activist groups. And to me, what that is this desire to have our process and indeed our very existence be transformational, be a challenge to the existing conditions of our society. And so, to me, while practical implications are important, that sets the bar kind of high. So, just as an example, historically from Carborough, the really free markets used to be, we used to have to pay to have them. We had to rent them from the town, this public space. And over the course of a struggle of what you might call civil disobedience, folks just decided, no, this is a free event and this is a public space, so we're not going to do that anymore. And that struggle was successful, and now for 5 years, every single month, there's been a really free market. So, we look at our occupation here. To a certain extent, the town is happy to take credit for their beneficence and not evicting us and whatnot. But the reason why we're here and why we're still here is because we asserted ourselves without permission and with public support and made this happen. So, coming back to the roving GAs, I'm not inclined to leave this space, even in the cold, unless we have a really compelling reason to, and unless we use that same kind of creativity and passion and like visionary challenging to choose new space.
Sorry, just a point of clarification. The roving GAs, at least in the variation that we had talked about, was not less. It was a one-time surprise, pop-up, kind of. It wasn't a let's get out of here and skedaddle. That wasn't at least my understanding of it. But I'm sorry, David, Jeff, Bert.
Just kind of on top of that, I agree with pretty much everything Nick said. And going back to a statement that was made earlier about we don't have permission to be inside, it's an official building. It's from what I understand, public space. I think not having permission there, again, falls into what Nick was just saying. If it ever is like frigidly cold, we can go inside. We have gone inside when it's not, when nobody's, in danger of getting frostbite. It's relatively warm. Usually they have the heaters going. And honestly, I think it would make for great press if they tried to evict us from the courthouse in, say, 30-degree January weather. I think that, seeing that on the front page of whatever local papers would go a long way. Additionally, just touching on the consumerism thing briefly, I think having like a pop-up GA to say, boo, here we are, like come be a part of us, like we're public, and as somebody made the great allusion to earlier, like they see all of Chapel Hill, Carborough being occupied and we're just the ones showing up here. It's kind of a way to like push that out. The one thing I would be careful of is that whether you're anti-consumerist or not, being in a place where you have to buy something to be there puts an admission price on our GA. And we do have members who may not be able to pay that, or we do have people who may not want to pay that for whatever reason. And I think that that's just something that we should consider in addition to the considerations of what benefits us from making a surprise GA in any given space.
Jasper, and I want to comment.
Yeah, I just want to thank David and Nick. I didn't really know why I was here. I sort of resisted it for a while because I thought I was doing good works elsewhere. But actually today I just wrote to my department manager and store manager and told them that they were full of it and that they seem to be missing a movement that's spreading across the country, and in a cooperative I shouldn't have to ask permission. We're all equal. And if they can criticize me, I can criticize them. And there's a shitload to criticize. And I spent 5 pages telling them what it was. And I hope I'll still have a job next week. But you've actually encapsulated something, and it's sort of PR, and it's roving GAs, and it's all of it. And that is, we shouldn't become comfortable. That's the whole point. We're a witness to what's wrong with the system. And as soon as we get comfortable about it and sit in an armchair, we stop thinking about changing it. We become part of it. We pay our admission price, and we grump about it, but we pay our admission price. We should be uncomfortable, we should be cold, and we should be saying to everyone, the reason we're out here in the cold is precisely because we're thinking about new things. We are critically examining every single part of the system. We're not accepting the system. So I don't know about going inside. I don't know about not staying here. I think it's very important to keep Occupy Chapel Hill here all the way through the winter, because everybody drives past it, and it reminds us. It reminds me. I am Mr. Comfort Level. If I can forget something, I will, and so will most other people. But at the same time, the idea of a general assembly popping up somewhere is merely part of the same thing. It's like, well, if we're not reminding you where we are, we'll come and remind you where you are. And there are loads of places. The farmers market is covered. The Weaver Street Lawn. All right, none of us can dance, but who cares? We can go and have a meeting there.
Oh my God, that'd be so great.
Don't limit yourself. Really, ourselves. We are about being uncomfortable to ourselves and to other people.
Bert and then Brian, and then we're going to wind this one down because I'd like to close out our GAs with some announcements and try to get out of here pretty soon. Cool?
I was going to say that the roving GA idea, which I hear what everybody's saying about this being our Occupy, we could make it roving teach-ins, roving discussions, visionings, without having to leave here. I want to address what Jeff just said and about the comfort level, which is really cool for all you young people who don't have arthritis or who can't handle the cold. And I'm not being facetious. There are a lot of people who want to be here, but they cannot deal with the cold. So for me, going inside is not an abdication of our responsibility or our commitment to Occupy. It's just moving so we can keep going. So.
Okay, so I'm not quite where David is. I'm not eager to get arrested for something or to have a conflict in the town. A way to avoid conflict is just for us to build a powerful movement where no one will want to mess with us. There is an empty building here. It's heated and open till 10 p.m. all the time. 9, sorry. You know, I mean, the different time zones. But the thing that's positive for me about this is we've created a space that doesn't have a door price, that is like a center of public activity. When I've been to other parts of the world where there's a lot of public life compared to the United States, where we're all isolated and atomized, there are social centers where people go, and people go there when there's a crisis. You know, where would many of us go if there was an emergency that happened in our town? Many of us now would come here, you know, hoping to find the other people that we're close with and that we know how to act with to respond. If we lose that, we maybe don't lose our individual friendships, but we lose the way that this has become a nerve center, you know, and that's going to be a hard thing to maintain through the winter, it's true. But if this town had another nerve center that didn't have anything to do with commerce, that would be a powerful thing for all the communities here.
Thank you. So, thank you all for this great series of discussions. I'm going to use my facilitator privilege a little bit to just say that we've all been talking about how great this space is. We need to recognize, we always do recognition of the campers at the end. Yay, okay. There's a small group of people who are committed to being here. It's so important. These folks right here, right back there, Hunter, Ron, Stephanie, these are the people who hold it down, because if they leave and they pack up, we won't have a home to come back to, as Brian says. If we clean it out, we might not get it back. And so in light of that, it's really important when nights are crazy with lots of drunk people. More people here would make it feel better and safer. We have a night watch group. You can talk to me afterwards. You know, it would just be really helpful to have more people here instead of talk about, and I don't want it to be like, boo, don't talk. But just to highlight, I'm not trying to chastise at all. We all do what we can. I just wanted to highlight the fact that folks who are here have been doing a lot and doing a great job, and they might need more support if we want to have this space to come back to for all winter. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, like, we're a few people here, you know, and not everybody's out here all the time, you know. But when you see a bunch of people coming over here and they start verbally abusing us and stuff like that, and there's only one or two here, we can't really do nothing. But as far as you don't have to sleep here, but stay here for a little bit and support us, especially between the hours of 1:30 and 3 o'clock. That's when they come.
The night watch, yeah.
Especially from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday and Saturday, it gets real nasty because they come out here and they just boom, boom, boom. And some people are okay and other people are not. But you can hear what they say, and it's kind of bad sometimes. But the presence of people being around here, I would think, definitely stop that group of people to get without physical.
Pretty much to add on to that, game nights especially are really bad, and the exam ending is coming up really soon, and that's going to be a big party thing. You know, just to put those points out there, you know, add it onto his thing. Those are probably yeah. So like to add on to, you know, the whole thing like that, you know, we will need probably need some extra help then, because a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, exams are done. So.
Thank you. So we're now into part of our agenda where we do announcements. We've sort of been doing them a little bit throughout, but we both have announcements to announce. Heather already announced a bunch of events. What other announcements do people have? James is pointing at somebody. Oh, Alana?
The alternative commencement ceremony task force, whatever you want to call us. We started sending out the invitations yesterday to the speakers and are going to continue doing so. We have quite an extensive list, starting with some higher profile names, which is who we're going to send out the invitations first to, and then send the invitations out to the ones that we are pretty sure will say yes. Working on logistics, it's all very exciting. There's been some negative backlash on campus. There was a pretty strong letter to the editor in the Daily Tar Heel yesterday, and I wrote one in response and also on my own behalf. I sent it out late last night, so it'll probably be in tomorrow's paper. I have a feeling I'm going to get pretty badly badgered online in the comment section, but I get off on that shit, so I'm just like, yeah! So, very exciting, and I think that's it.
Thank you, Alana. Anybody else have Dan?
Ron has a box of t-shirts, so if you haven't gotten one, please wear them proudly. They're a gift in honor of somebody's birthday who wanted to also share a cake with all of us, and there's cottage food under the pink blanket. The one in the big thing has meat in it, the other one doesn't. If you want to eat your supper before you have your pudding.
Yay!
Happy birthday to you.
Whose birthday? Birthday to you. Who is it? Birthday to you.